Hi, welcome to the Aruba OS 8.3 how-to video series. This is the 10th in a 15 video series that is going to cover the initial config and deployment of an Aruba OS 8.3 Mobility Master. Now, in previous videos, we've already gone through a tour of the Mobility Master. We've looked at the config node hierarchy. We've even gone so far as to create a few configuration elements like WLANs that have been configured at different levels within the deployment. Now, what we also want to do, and we're going to refer back to this drawing, is the next step in this series is to basically bring up some APs and provision them and put a configuration on them. So what I have is I have an AP that is tied to Campus A. I have another AP that is tied to Campus B, and they're pointed basically to each campus's respective controller cluster. So their DHCP option 4360 was pointed to 200.60. For DC2 or for Campus B, it was pointed at 150.60. So what we want to do is create the AP groups that are going to contain these APs that are going to be provisioned. So first things first, we'll go to Campus A, we'll go to AP groups, and I'm going to create an AP group, and we'll just call it Campus A group. And I'll do the same thing for Campus B. Now, the one thing to be aware of, you can have as many AP groups within a group or a node as you want. For example, I may have outdoor and indoor APs in Campus A, and I may want them in separate groups because I want to configure those two groups of APs a little bit differently. Additionally, you can see that there is a default group and there is one AP in it for each campus. And the reason why that is because these APs that have come up, by default, they come up in the default AP group. However, until they are provisioned, until they are given a name and put in a specific group, they actually will not broadcast any SSIDs. So this U stands for unprovisioned and means that the AP is inactive until it has been named or put into a group or both. So even though it's in the default AP group, that's totally fine. We don't have to worry about that because no APs are going to actually be put into the default AP group. So I'm going to click on access points inside the Campus A folder, and you can see once I check this box, the little provision icon goes up. So now there are some bits of information that are relevant when we provision an access point. And there's really, you can put more on an access point, but there are really only two required elements that are provisioned or written onto the access point itself. In this case, it would be the AP name. So I'm actually going to say this is AP318 campus, or we'll just say VMCA. So that tells me that it's on the VMCA cluster. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it in the Campus A group. Now, the rest of this information is here as the devices come up. And because this is a 318, it actually needs an antenna provisioning. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm putting 3 dBi antennas on there. We do get questions from time to time what you are supposed to put here if you're connecting an external antenna, and that information is contained within the datasheet of the antenna that you use. So if the 5 gigahertz gain of your antenna is 3 dBi and the 2.4 gigahertz gain is 6, then you would put those respective values there. And then finally at the bottom there are different deployment modes. There's campus, which is the most traditional. There's also a remote AP option. There's also a mesh configuration. This would be if you need to do any wireless bridging. And then there's a special use case called Remote Mesh Portal. But those are outside the scope of these videos here. So we're just going to go ahead and make everything a Campus AP. So I'm going to check everything real quick. This is a 318 VMCA Campus AP group. Everything else looks good. I'm going to go ahead and hit Submit. Now what's going to happen is the controller is going to write that information onto the access point, and then the access point is going to reboot. And when it reboots and connects back to the controller, it will be a part of that new AP group that we created and inherit that config. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for Campus B. We're going to provision this access point. We'll call it AP318 VMCB. We're going to go ahead and put it in the Campus B group. Notice the controller IP address has changed. I'm going to use the same antenna gain and leave it as a Campus AP and hit Submit and continue and reboot. Now, while those APs are rebooting, we're going to go ahead and make some other corrections as well. So I'm going to go to Campus A, and I'm going to go to my AP groups. Now, you'll notice when I click on the AP group, I don't have any APs in there yet. I also don't have any WLANs. However, I want to go ahead and add the WLANs that I can. So we're going to go ahead and add the guest, and we're going to go ahead and add the global enterprise. Remember, these come from the node above it. And so if I needed to make a change to that SSID, if you remember going back, I would go to WLANs in Campus A, and then you can see the little asterisk here tells me that it's actually configured in Managed Network. But for now, what's actually happening when I look at the AP group itself, for a Campus AP group, you can see that the 2 WLANs that are assigned to this group are here. It also shows you the other AP groups that those are assigned to. Now, because this is defined and assigned to the default AP group up top, that's why you see it down below. But you can go ahead and ignore that for the most part. The reality is the only SSIDs that are going to be broadcast in each AP group are A, if there are APs in that AP group, and B, if there's a WLAN provisioned for that AP group. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for Campus B. I'm going to go to WLANs. I'm going to add the 2 main WLANs to it. I'm going to write this change. Now, when these APs are done rebooting, and I'll probably pause the video because they won't be done by the time I'm done, but once they have fully rebooted, they will come up into their respective AP groups. They will start broadcasting their respective SSIDs. So I'm going to pause the video until these APs come up. Okay, so I have waited a few minutes. The APs are now up, and so what we'll go ahead and look at real quick is we'll check the dashboard, we'll look at the access points, we'll make sure that we see these APs up. So you can see AP 318 VMC A and B are both up. If I click on each one, I get some information about the SSIDs that they're broadcasting. Now, remembering that there are 2 radios and there are 2 SSIDs per radio, it gives us a total BSSID count of 4. Now, so I see the APs are up, I see that they're actually broadcasting, and if we go and look at their config, we can see from the AP groups that there's 1 AP inside that AP group. There are 2 WLANs configured. And I can also go back to the dashboard and look at the access point page itself. And you can see for the APs I have, you can see all the channel quality, the frame rate that they're connected at, what channels they're actually running at. I have 1 at channel 52, I have 1 at channel, looks like 149, I have 1 at 11 and 1 at 6. So those 4 radios are running at their respective channels at different or differing ERP values. This is going to be the 2.4 gig. This is going to be the 5 gig. So everything looks good. All my APs are up and broadcasting. Additionally, if I open up my Wi-Fi Explorer and I search for global, because all of my SSIDs have global in them, I can see the different APs and their signal strengths as they are broadcasting. So it looks like everything worked the way I expected it to. There's no other things you really have to mess with as far as getting these guys up. You could certainly create a new WLAN, and we're going to go ahead and do that for each campus because I do want to show you one other aspect when you create a WLAN now that we have some APs up. So let's say now I want to create a campus-specific SSID both for Campus A and Campus B. I'm going to go ahead and call this Campus A WLAN. Except now instead of applying to all APs, I'm going to apply this to a select group of APs or the Campus AP group. I'm going to hit next. I want to put this in, we'll go ahead and put this in the global enterprise because it's all still VLAN 200. I'm going to make this a WPA2PSK and give it a secret. I'm going to hit next, give them a role. We'll just call them authenticated and hit finish. So all I did was create a new VLAN, except this time I specified it to only exist in that AP group. And so if I look at the AP group itself and I look at the WLANs, you can see that this Campus A WLAN only exists in the AP group Campus A WLAN. Additionally, hopefully, if I open up my Wi-Fi Explorer and I stop it and restart it, and I search for global, I'm going to see my normal global ones, but now I want to see if I can find my campus, and I see Campus A WLAN is listed there as well. So hopefully that kind of makes sense in as far as how you create WLANs and assign them to specific AP groups. I don't have any clients yet, so a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily going to show up. I don't have any limits defined either. But if I wanted to create Campus B WLAN and I do it a different way, I can go to Tasks, go to Create a new WLAN. We'll call this Campus B WLAN. We're going to make that apply only to the Campus B group. Hit Next. We'll put them in the Global Enterprise, which is VLAN 150. We'll give them the same PSK. And so now I have two different WLANs, one for each campus, that is unique to that individual campus. And so if I wanted to do something special like IoT, or if I wanted to do something specific to a specific work group in that building, they could use that SSID, and only those users would have access to that SSID. So hopefully that clears things up a little bit. If you have any questions, certainly reach out to the online resources like community.arubanetworks.com, or reach out to your local Aruba SE or partner. Thank you.